Alright, so back in the garage with the Monty interior almost complete. We'll work on putting these inner seat mounts in. So how I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna just pretty much keep the seats in there for now. Then I'll take the mounts, put them where they need to go, and adjust the seats, then mark it. And I know online there's some measurements for where the seats need to be. So I'm gonna put the seat on the mounts, mark it, and see how close I am. If I need to adjust from there, I will. But that's pretty much it. Get it marked where the seat mounts need to go, and I'll remove the seats. Then I'll bring out the welder, and I'll weld the seat mounts in. Need to do that because I'm gonna pick up the sound deadener for the floors, so I could put the carpet in. Once the carpet's in, I can bolt the seats in, put little trim pieces in, and then I should be done with the interior for the most part. Like I said, the seats are dyed, trim pieces are dyed. Only thing left is the steering column. The dash is done. Like I said, it's gonna slow down a lot. Not sure if you guys can hear that wind, but it is cold out there. Had our first snow today, so it's gonna limit a lot of the stuff I can do as far as the paint work goes or body work. Even in the garage right now, it's about 43 degrees. So like I said, it's gonna get the mounts in. So wish me luck. Shouldn't be too bad getting the placement right. Alright, so I was looking into it a little bit, and the reason I was way off is because the measurements online I was looking at were for bucket seats. This is for a 60-40 split bench seat, so the brackets on the seats are going to be a little bit wider for the bench seat versus the bucket seats. So, alright, so second thing I just noticed, the set of seat mounts I ordered or for if you're doing the bucket seats. There's a different style if you're doing the bench seat. So now they're supposed to weld somewhere on the transmission tunnel. However, I'm not going to order new ones. I'm just going to figure out a good spot for these. Might have to bend this one a little bit just to get it to actually hit the ground. But I'm gonna use these, and I'm just gonna make it work. So watch what you're ordering online. Make sure you're ordering the right parts. But I'm gonna make them work. So I'll get back to it. All right, so I have the welder all set up. It's my first time welding. I've been talking to a buddy from work that welds a lot. And he's been giving me a little bit of tips, so I'm just gonna give it a shot. I was gonna MIG weld, but I went to pick up the bottle today for the gas, and he told me $300 just for the bottle, and I knew that didn't seem right because the welder was like $250, I think. So I didn't end up getting it. Talked to my buddy again. He was like, just flux core weld it. So that's what I'm gonna go with. So it's just the seat mounts. It should do fine, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I said I probably won't record it just because it's my first time trying to weld, so I'm gonna be paying more attention to trying to get that right. So it's not a welding video, it's just I'm gonna get my seat mounts in today video. Alright, so it's not pretty. I'm not a welder, but the seat mounts are in. Listen, I'm not a welder. They're not pretty, but these things are solid. They're not going anywhere. Found out the best thing to do was to just measure the distance between the seat brackets, and then take the existing seat mounts and just measure that out. So I measure from the inside to the inside, and then from this one to that one, and then the distance from that one to these two, and just centered it off of these two. I tacked the back ones in first, and then I put the seat in there, and then I marked where I needed the front one, and then I remeasured it also. But that's it for the seat mounts. In the morning, I'm gonna clean up the whole floor. Alright, so far, just vacuumed it out, got all the dust and dirt and all that out of there. I'm gonna sand it down, just to get all this surface rust off. I'm gonna hit it with this rust encapsulator. So, hit all the rusty areas or where there was rust with it, and then might do a little bit extra just on other spots. And after I do that and that dries, I hit it with some primer, and then I'll coat the floor after that. So, put it back on the time lapse, finish sanding all this out, and I'll get back to it. Alright, so have it all sanded down. There are some spots still show a little bit of surface rust, but that's what that spray's for. I did discover a little bit more little rust spots up towards the front, but like I said, I'll spray all those, spray all that. I'm gonna go up just to this seam seal right here with the stuff I'm doing today. Later on I might do all the other sections, but I'm gonna clean this up, a little soap and water or wax and grease remover, just wipe it all down, let it dry, and I'll spray that rust encapsulator. Like I said, I'll hit all the major spots, and if I see any other spots, I'll get those too. Like, there's one I didn't notice, but get back to it. I'll treat all that stuff. Probably won't have enough time today to actually cover the whole floor, but I'm gonna treat these spots, let it dry, and I'll come back tomorrow and probably finish it off. As far as sanding goes, I know it's still, I didn't take it all down to bare metal, just pretty much got all the gloss or the shiny parts sanded down so they're a matte finish. It's going to help everything stick. I'll remove this when I get to it. I did sand up in there a little bit, so when I get to covering everything, I'll probably take it all off or find a way to hold it back. But that's it. Alright, so it's all wiped down with the wax and grease remover. Got all the dirt off. I did go in with these small cracks that I can't get with the sander. Went and knocked those down with the wire brush to remove all that dirt. But yeah, it's all wiped down. I'll give it a couple minutes, just let it dry a little bit more, and then I'll start spraying. I'll hit it with this first. No, you're not really supposed to mix products, but I'll hit it with that, let that dry fully. Then all the other areas, I'll hit with this Rust-Oleum primer. And then after that primer dries, I'll use this protective enamel. I know a lot of people use Pour 15, but stuff's a lot cheaper and is local, so I didn't have to order any. But I'll brush all this on the entire floor, and that should be enough to coat the whole floor. It'll protect it, so I'm not too worried about it, because after that, put the sound deadener on top of that, and then the carpet, and then I'll put all the interior back in. So let this dry for a little bit, and I'll start spraying. Alright, so I didn't realize how much that one can was going to cover, even though it was used. Got it from a buddy. So Probably had that much of it gone. Got a little carried away. Hit the spots that were really bad. Hit it somewhat heavy, but then just decided to do the rest of it. So sprayed the whole floor pretty much. Some of the lighter areas are spots I'm not too worried about, but like I said, where it was down here in the floor pan on both sides, I hit probably with a medium coat, and up here it's probably another medium coat along with the driver's side. But like the transmission tunnel and the back seat area, that's just a light coat. I said I wasn't sure how much it was going to cover, so started spraying. I was like, hey, I can do a lot more than I thought. So that's why I just did the whole floor. Now I'm just gonna let that dry. So once that's dry, I'll go back over it tomorrow, hit it with some primer, and then put the Rust-Oleum over it. Alright, so back out here, I'm gonna finish up the floors today. Did spray a small amount of the primer in this corner just to see how it would react with the rust encapsulator. So I know it's two different brands. Sometimes they don't like each other. So looks like it did pretty good. Not bubbling up or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray the whole floor in the primer. It does say hit it with 320 just to help it hold a little bit better. So I have a couple sheets of 320. Just do a light scuff up of the whole floor, and I'll hit it with the primer. I'll let it dry for a little bit, then I'll put the enamel down. This will be brushed on, so it shouldn't be too bad. I did get an aerosol can of it, so if there are some areas I can't get the brush in, I'll just end up spraying them. But yeah, those are steps I'm using. I'm sure everybody has their own steps they use, but this is what's going to work for me, hopefully. So we'll see once it's done. Like I said, I thought about spraying the whole inside. I might hit the doors later on, but for right now, I'm not too worried about them. And that whole back half, I'm not too worried about it. So the only spot I was really worried about was the floor, because that's what tends to rust out. So let me get to sanding and priming, and I'll get back to you guys after each step. Alright, so just finished the 2 light coats of primer. Pretty much did them back to back with one side while spraying the other side. Gave the side I just did enough time to dry a little bit and then put another coat on. So just 2 light coats of primer. Covered pretty well with one can. Kind of digging the white. I know it's supposed to say a flat gray primer, but there's a little white tint to it. But just give you a little preview of what's going on in the car. But yeah, covered pretty well. Let it dry up a little bit. It was a little windy, so it blew a little bit of dirt back in there. Not too worried about it. But yeah, I'm gonna give that about 20-30 minutes to dry. And after it dries, start with the enamel. So, did tape off all the studs and bolts, so it's not gonna get on too much of the threads. I think the top coat's just one coat, pretty medium coat on it. So once I do the top coat, I'll probably remove all the tape while it's still wet. But that's it. Talk to you guys about 30 minutes. Alright, so there it goes. Just put down all the protective enamel. It's supposed to be a flat black, so we'll see how it dries. Right now it's real glossy. Not a fan of it. I like the flat black that the rust encapsulator had. But it's all gonna get covered up anyway. So about to head in, forget about this while it dries. And I'll head out in a few hours and check it out. The floors are all dry. It's been about 2 days. It did finally go to a flat finish, but like I said, it's getting covered up, so I'm not too worried about it anyway.